Welcome, everybody, to this week's edition of Legalese with John Watts and Stephen Palmieri. Except that we don't have John Watts here today. John Watts, I believe, is out there fighting the bad guys and fighting the good fight. So we have with us Matt Listro.
I could do a John Watts impression.
Go ahead.
Y'all could. I'm trying to do my Southern accent. Y'all come by and we'll sue them. And
there you go. In fact, John lives in the same state as you, right?
He does. He's in Alabama. He's a native Alabamian.
Yes,
yeah, he's got the true Southern accent, not the imported one.
All right. So again, you guys just joining us. John Watts is out fighting the fight. So it is Legalese with no attorneys here. It is Matt Listro and Stephen Palmieri. Mary, hey guys. Hey to you too. So anyway, we're going to kind of open this thing up. Obviously post up your questions, your comments below. We are here for you guys, but we're going to talk a little bit about Georgia. And Matt Listro has been having these fleeting visions, like for the past few years at night. He'll wake up in cold sweats and he's like, oh my gosh, what if we could operate legally, whether it's nonprofits or also changing the law. So Matt Listro, let's talk a little bit.
I know you think you're kidding, but sometimes that's not entirely untrue because, oh man, I got to get this done. Last year trying to get that done and get everything out and trying to contact people. And I spent days just doing nothing but dialing people on the phone to try and get support and dialing congressmen and dialing senators and
dollar for dollars, huh?
But you kidding, like wake up like, oh man, I got to get that done. I didn't do that yet this week. I got to go do that. But it's true. You take something like that on, it's a big task. So that's what it is. So Steve and I and who else was it? The three of we started the Credit Repair Trade Organization. Shiva, that's right. We started the Credit Repair Trade Organization at Georgia toward the aim of getting credit repair legalized in Georgia. So right now it is illegal to do credit repair in Georgia unless you're a nonprofit, which is a little hard to get a 501c status with the IRS, or you're an attorney. And so unless you've gone to law school and passed that bar, you're not doing credit repair in Georgia. And typically, I know there's a couple attorneys who do credit repair in Georgia, but typically most attorneys have found that it's not that profitable to do credit repair itself. They'd much rather work on the cases generated by other credit repair companies or focus on some other things, but not the actual grunt work of repair. So we're trying to legalize it in Georgia. So let me give you a little bit of background. Georgia has the third worst, and this is our map to getting the law changed in Georgia. This is the roadmap that we've determined is the best course of action in order to get the law changed. So in Georgia has the third lowest credit score in the country. And actually, earlier this week on Monday, I was on the phone with a lobbyist in Georgia. He says, "Is that true? Where'd you get that information?" And I said, "It was a study done by Experian." So it's right there. So Georgia has the third worst credit score. Okay, why do they have the third worst credit score in the country? I mean, I know Mississippi has, I think Mississippi, Alabama, or a couple of other states that had some very low credit scores. But if you look at their income, they also have very low median income, very low household income. So I assumed for a second that, hey, maybe Georgians are poor too. But when I checked the charts, Georgia has the 29th median income in the country. So certainly not the poorest state out there by any means. So if they have a decent median income, why are they not paying their bills? Why is the credit the third worst in the country? And I believe that the answer is more than a decade, it's been illegal to do credit repair in Georgia. After the meltdown, they made it illegal. And so, or sometime around there. So, and that was done to protect Georgia consumers. I don't doubt that the legislature had the best of intentions when they passed that law. I'm sure they did. But I don't think it's had the desired effect, because if you're a scam company and a fraud company, you don't obey the laws anyway. And you're just going to go out there and do credit repair or take people's money anyway, right?
The criminals don't obey the laws, man. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, right. When has that not been the case, right? So it really isn't stopping the criminals from preying upon Georgia consumers. What it is stopping is the more legitimate companies from operating in the state of Georgia. Now, we all know there's a few companies in Georgia that are operating. We all probably know some in this industry. If you know any amount of people in here, you probably know some that are flying by radar, under the radar, or pretending they're in a different state, and they're really in Georgia. So, that's what it is. But we want to change the law. We want to legitimize it to bring consumers help. So Georgian consumers don't have the same opportunity for credit help as every place else in the country. And that has given them the third worst score. So how has that affected Georgians? So what does that mean if you have the third worst credit score? It means that the homeownership rate in Georgia is not as good. So what I found is that in a ranking of homeownership, Georgia ranks 40th in the country with respect to the ability to own a home. And so 40th, you're saying, well, 40 out of 50, it's not ideal, but it's not terrible. But you need to back a few states out of there. You need to back away Hawaii, average home price, 600,000. California, average home price, I don't remember what, but way up there. New York, Massachusetts, the 4 states that have exorbitant home prices, which prevent people from buying homes, has nothing to do with their credit scores. It's just the real estate market is crazy. And so that itself is a deterrent. If you back those 4 away, then Georgia's really like 40th out of 44.
Do you know, like, as far as population size, do you know where Georgia is? I mean, they're pretty big in population.
I don't. They do have a pretty decent population too. It's not a tiny little state either. It's got some decent population. Look at the Electoral College and how important Georgia was in the electoral vote. They have a decent population. So anyway, so this negative credit score has affected people's ability to buy a home in Georgia. Now, Georgia also has $180,000 median home price, which is not as high as other states that have higher credit scores. And the reason for that is supply and demand. If there's,
by the way, this can't be right. 10 million people. Dude, they got to have 10 million people just in Atlanta, huh?
Wow.
Anyway, U.S. states ranked by population. It says that they're number 8 with 10 million people, but that.
Okay.
Anyway,
10 million is a fairly decent sized population for a state. That's yeah.
Let's try good old Wikipedia here. Yeah, Wikipedia puts them 8th and 9th, depending upon. So yeah, so that's really interesting, right? So they're 8th in population, but you've got 40th as far as ability to own a home. So
right.
Okay, so you've been having.
And so think about that for a second. So if you have a fewer pool of buyers, there's 10 million people in the state. How many in another state that's 10 million or roughly 10 million, how many of those people are eligible to buy a home? Well, their credit score is higher than Georgia, so they're going to have a larger percentage of people that are eligible, that are credit qualified to purchase a home. But Georgia doesn't have as many people. So the pool of buyers is less. Therefore, it's more of a seller's market, if you will. There's more homes available than there are buyers. Not all the time, but generally speaking, there's a more supply than there is demand because you don't have people that qualify. And so that has kept home prices down. And so if you could change this, if we can change the law and get more consumers help, and I'm not just talking about credit repair, because along with credit repair comes budgeting services, comes credit rebuilding information, all this wealth of information that we give to consumers that they don't have in Georgia, all this is going to help increase their credit score. And if Georgia were to go from 43rd to 29th, matching their income status, if you will, then that's going to create an influx of buyers. That's going to drive real estate prices up. That's going to drive median home prices up. It's going to drive wealth in the state. Home ownership is one of the greatest drivers of wealth to an economy. So we think that the path here now is that now that we can clearly show some of these statistics, that we can get the realtors were very excited last year. I had some talks with a realtor association in Georgia. And doesn't this sound great to them, right? All of a sudden you can sell more homes because more people are eligible to buy a home. That's great. The mortgage bankers, mortgage brokers, they were also excited about this situation. Well, that sounds pretty good. We can write more loans. The apartment association was actually excited about it because more people with higher credit scores, easier to qualify for rentals. So it's true. It would even help the apartment association. The Automobile Dealers Association was excited about it. They can sell more cars. more people can easily qualify for a car loan.
It was endorsed by everybody in the Automobile Dealer Association except for the tote to note guys, right? They're like, Matt Leistro, we don't want people with good credit. You're bad for our business, man.
Yeah. Well, some of those buy here, pay here, that revolving repossession companies,
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
not, but generally speaking, for a car dealer, higher credit scores is good. Sell more cars. It's great. This is great for the economy all around. Get those dollars moving in Georgia, move it around the economy, and things. It can really be helpful. And so I believe that this is going to be our path to getting the law changed in Georgia. So we've identified some of the groups that we need support from. We've identified some of the key individuals in the state, some key lobbyists who seem to have some sway. There was one group in Georgia called the Georgia Watch, which is a consumer watchdog agency in Georgia, who I'd like to say we made some inroads with them. I think maybe we did, but they're still very apprehensive about credit repair. So they, as a whole, have always said that they're against credit repair. It just costs the consumers money. It doesn't help them, and I think they just don't have a true understanding of what we do. So I tried to make a lot of phone calls.
They were the same guys who were hanging out with the legislators when they passed that crappy state law. They were all just sitting around drinking coffee, like, oh, what do these credit repair guys do? Let's just make it practically illegal. Yeah.
Historically thinking, I think lawyers had a lot to do with that law. Georgia Watch and lawyers had a lot to do with that law being passed. And originally the concept, I think, and it was before my time, I understand that possibly the concept was that, hey, we should leave this to the lawyers, let them make the money, their income. But that hasn't happened. Lawyers really haven't delved into that, and you don't see law firms all across Georgia specializing in we'll fix your credit. It hasn't happened. So it's left a void in the marketplace for Georgia consumers.
Except for Brian Ponder, right? Brian Ponder.
Yeah, Brian's a good guy, but how many Brian Ponders are there out there in Georgia, right? How many Brian Ponders are there out there in Georgia helping consumers? There's not that many. All right,
so let's spice this thing up here for our listeners here. So you've been having these visions and these dreams and these desires for years, and it started off that you kind of started talking to people, and first they were like, dude, you're crazy. And then you started really making some headway with the organizations that you had just mentioned by giving them some compelling financial reasons why it makes sense. Well, mortgage industry and apartment industry and auto industry, here's what the numbers look like. And so I remember when you first talked to me about this like a year and a half ago. I mean, I thought you were crazy. I still think you're crazy, but I like you a lot. So was Steve Jobs. He was kind of crazy too, and he changed the world. So, but you were like, Steven, I think I only need like $50,000 and we can buy it as a lobbyist. And I was like, well, that's amazing, that you already know all that. So let's kind of talk about what does this thing look like moving forward? And then also, I think, you're kind of involved with this other new massive trade association. You're on their board, I think, aren't you?
The American Association of Consumer Credit Counselors, the AACCP, Consumer Credit Professionals. Sorry.
So what does this thing look like? What's their involvement, and how do you get your 50 grand, and how do we grease up somebody with a briefcase full of cash to
so that organization is backed by Lexington Law, and they have pretty much funded it to begin with. And so I think next year there's going to be more of a push to get more credit repair companies involved in the organization. Right now, it's mostly organizational, gearing up, making sure the processes of signing credit repair companies is in place. But they have a budget. I've seen it. They're spending some money. You probably have seen some of their ads on social media. They recently ran 23 million ads promoting credit repair.
Hold on a second. So real quick. So who do they represent? Do they represent CROs or consumers? Like, what exactly is their
they are an organization representing the CROs. It's a trade organization for credit repair companies, but in the interest of the consumer, for fair credit, for credit repair. So it's a trade organization for credit repair companies, for sure.
Well, how come nobody knows about them?
Well, did you watch one of those 23 million ads?
No. They didn't target me. They must have.
We did have them at CreditCon. Yeah, and they're doing some things. They've been lobbying in 9 states so far against some new laws that would have wiped out credit repair in some of those states or made it prohibitive for credit repair to operate in some of those states. Some debt collector lobbyists were proposing some laws that would be anti-credit repair, and they successfully have defeated that in every state. I don't know those specifics, but they've been a little active in the states. Would like to see them try and tackle this issue that's near and dear to my heart, to try and change the law in Georgia. So we'll see.
Okay, so you got this big organization backed by Lexington Law, and I guess the reason why they were created was because Lexington Law's got that CFPB action going up against them, right? Is that kind of like really the driving force behind
sure.
the
I think so.
thing? Okay, so they're out there, even though nobody knows about them, they're out there running a bunch of Facebook ads. Is it driving membership to them, or like how do people in our industry find out about this organization, and is it worth us finding out about it?
Right now, they really have not made a push for credit repair companies to join the organization. There've been a handful that have, but they really aren't geared up to take on lots of members quickly right now. Hopefully that'll happen more next year. We'll see. At least that's the plan. But they're trying to advocate.
20 million ads, were those like, what was the purpose of them running 20 million ads? If they're not
put a positive spin on credit repair, to maybe help change public perception about credit repair. You may have seen, the Credit Data Industry Association retweeted some information that they've put out. So they're trying to garner some reputation, some allegiance with the Credit Data Industry Association, to try and bridge the gap, if you will, to say, we're here, we're willing to work with you. This is what we want. We want to be a part of the community.
Gotcha. Okay, so we've got this big organization. They're backed by Lexington, and then you need $50,000 to change the law in Georgia. And so how does it all come together, man? What does the future look like for this concept?
I don't know. We're going to see. I'd like to see if I can get them involved in my endeavors to try and change this law. Last year, we did a lot of calling. We got some media. We did get some articles published in Yahoo and a couple different media, Dow Jones publications, about changing the law in Georgia. We made some good inroads with a couple of senators that I thought were going to be it. And so I really stopped marketing other senators and congressmen, thinking we'd found our senators to go ahead and propose this law, and that it just didn't happen. So I think I learned my lesson of don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't believe how interested a politician tells you they are in your endeavor. They may not be as interested as you thought they were. But let me explain that for a second. So the legislative session in Georgia runs from January to April. It's like the first week of April. And so you have that period of time to get your law passed. Obviously, a lot needs to be done before then. You're going to have to do some prep work and have a law put together, have someone to propose it, have a path towards a committee, towards approval. So a lot of that work happens before the legislative session begins in the first week of January, but that's the timetable. So we're coming up to that, not quite yet, but soon in the fall, trying to get that law presented, proposed, supported, and then pass this legislative session from January through the first week of April.
That's when you go up to the big organization you're like, hey guys, interestingly, I need 50 grand in petty cash, and then you go ahead and redirect that over to your lobbyist, and then everything's done. And they're like, how did you get that done? And you're like, well, remember that petty cash you gave me? That actually was for the lobbyist, right? So
right.
It's all contingent upon the lobbyist, though. Is that kind of how you're feeling in all reality, all joking aside? Do you feel as though you can get changed if you?
I took a swipe at trying to do it myself last year, and we got some volunteers from our community. We had 20-ish people volunteering to call congressmen and senators with us. We gave them lists of people to call, trying to garner some support. It's a little bit easier for a lobbyist who regularly goes to make donations to the local politicians. And so he or she has the ear of the local politician. And so it's easier for them to get in and say, so we have this bill. We think it would be great for you to support it, et cetera. So it's that's how it works. And for those of you who let me be clear. I mean, that's how it works. Lobbyist has many organizations that they work from. They take that money, they get donations to give to the different congressmen and senators, and then they drive around and present checks, and that
Big old
buys you
fancy
time.
cars. They drive around in big old fancy cars that are paid for by everybody. So,
Some of those lobbyists make some money for sure.
So
it's like the same thing we tell people about credit repair. You can get a law passed yourself. You can get your credit changed yourself, but how successful are you going to be, right? Do you know everything? Do you know everyone? How much time can you devote to this?
There's this pesky disclosure that federal law requires we give you, Mr. Consumer. It says that you can perform heart surgery on your own. But Matt Leistro, do you know how you can legally bribe state judges?
No, I don't. How can you do that?
You just give a big old briefcase as a contribution to their reelection campaign, and it's all good and legitimate, man.
Oh, yeah, I follow you. Yeah.
Federal judges are kind of appointed for life, so it's a little bit different. But the state judges, in most states, they've got to reelect every couple of years. They're basically politicians, in all honesty.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy when you really think about it, because a lot of these consumer protection, a lot of these consumer protection cases people like to file in state court, actually, right? And I've seen them through my journey of having clients file cases in Texas, and the state. I mean, all the judge, everybody's kind of got their bias, but it's you definitely want to know who your judges are. And it's amazing the bureaus know who they are too. Like, it's interesting, the bureaus will pick their cases, on which ones they want to really try to fight versus which ones they want to settle, based on whose court it's in. It's really kind of a wild thing. So let's see, Warren Maxwell, you say write a big check. That is correct, sir.
Yeah, that's what it is. 5 to 10 years ago, I knew nothing about politics, and now I know slightly more than nothing. But one of the things that I have learned, money gets it done. Money makes the world go round.
Money talks and something walks.
It really does. It really does. You want to get a politician or something done, it's gonna take a check. It's what it is.
Absolutely.
That's just what it is.
Absolutely. So for those of everybody here who's kind of watching, if they're interested in the whole Georgia thing, should they reach out to you? How can they get in touch with you? And how do we help you to move this concept forward of kind of changing the Georgia law so it's not a misdemeanor to do credit repair as a for-profit company over there?
That's an excellent question. I'm going to see what the heck the website was. 1 second.
You can do a screen share too, by the way, if you want to. You do a screen share. For those of you guys watching, feel free to comment below. Again, we're doing this for you guys. John Watts is out fighting the good guys right now, so he couldn't make it. So you've got to just deal with Matt Leistro and me for today's Legal Ease show. So we are playing lawyers only on TV, just like George Clooney plays a doctor on TV. All right, Matt Leistro, you pulling that bad boy up?
Yeah, it is creditrepairingeorgia.com. I'm going to type it in the chat. Credit repair.
Yeah, Warren Maxwell. It's not a bribe, it's a campaign donation. That's exactly what I was saying, Warren. You got it. That's
not a bribe, it's a campaign donation.
That's right. Basically, state judges are essentially politicians having to get reelected in most states. Yeah, it's really the craziest thing in the world when you think about it. But that's how that goes. So, all right, Matt, did you want to do a little screen share or something? There's that.
How do you do a screen share on this one?
Little share button on the very bottom.
Share screen.
Matt Leistro, he's used to that fancy Rendezvous software. He does his webinar Wednesdays.
Yeah,
we're using the poor man's StreamYard here, so he doesn't know where all the buttons are in this thing.
Oh, here we go.
There you go. It. Down there, buddy. Share button.
There we go. Can you see it? Woo!
Come on, not yet. Oh my goodness, Matt Leistro, what are we doing here?
That work?
No.
So you should be looking at the grassroots effort to allow legitimate and reputable credit repair in Georgia.
There we go. I had to admit it to stream. Okay, here we go. So we've got it. All right, good. You got it. It's on the screen. Talk.
Okay, so this is a website you can go to, creditrepairingeorgia.com. This explains a little bit about what's going on. It tells a little bit more of my story. I was going to bring the CreditCon convention to Atlanta, Georgia, and found out after I went there, did 12 site visits for venues, got pretty far along, only to find out that the Attorney General, should we have the convention in Georgia, would deem anybody in attendance who was not a business owner to be a consumer. And if we talked about improving credit or credit scores, we would be practicing credit repair to people that are not business owners.
that's where we need to be really good friends with our tax buddies over there, the guys that know taxes, because as you and I both know, you don't have to have a state business LLC to be in business. As far as the IRS
Right.
is concerned,
Sure.
those are all startup costs, baby. You know
Oh
what I
yeah.
mean? You're gonna have to put that on the
You
Schedule
could be a
60
sole
tax
prop
return.
and not have a, it's
That's
hard to
right.
verify
That's
a
right.
sole prop, sole
Startup costs.
proprietorship.
So we just
Um,
need to fight the attorney general with a little bit of tax law logic. See, these guys
yeah.
are all,
Well, then
you
you're going on you're on the defensive, trying to say no. This
know.
person, Tom, really was going to start a business. He's a business owner. He's not a consumer. But they were saying that we would be guilty of a misdemeanor if we did this. And then so that could be possible fines, imprisonment, refunding people's money that
That's
paid to
when
come to the convention.
that's when
And
that's when Matt Leistro's like, dude, I ain't worried about being found guilty of a misdemeanor because I've contributed to the reelection of all your Georgia judges, so they love me, right?
yep,
Never, you're just joking there. So, all right. So we've got Mary Ann says, what is the link again? This is what is it? Credit repair in Georgia.
credit repair in Georgia.com.
Credit
Credit
repair
repair in
in
Georgia.com.
Georgia.com. That's it. Yeah. Credit
On the
repair.
bottom of that page, there's a link that you can sign up to join our mailing list. We haven't done a mailing since April because we're just in a dormant phase right now, but we will again coming this fall. We're going to look for some help, whether we have a lobbyist or not. There's going to be things to do to try and get this done. Politicians to write into, people to call, things to politicians to let them know that we support this bill. There will be things to be done, so we could use bodies. So please, and if you just want to stay in, we'll try and get those bodies from the mailing list. Hey, we need some volunteers for this project. But if you want to stay on top of what's going on with the project, please join the mailing list.
All right, hold on once again. So I'm just going to have to go ahead and pause you for a second. I've got to apologize to our listening audience and my super fans that I've worked really hard to build credibility with, because Matt Leistro has basically reduced you down to just a body at this point in time. And so I consider you guys watching to be more than bodies, but Matt Leistro's, he just thinks you're a body on the mailing list. So anyway, Matt Leistro,
some of these things, you just need numbers. They want to know that you have numbers of, how many of my constituents support this? How many of my constituents are going to benefit from this? And it's a numbers game. The more bodies and the more people you have behind you, the stronger your case to convince the senators and congressmen that what you want is something that they should do. So it is a numbers thing. And it's also a numbers thing for the amount of work. Like last year, we were trying to call the congressmen and the senators, and we divided that up, asked for volunteers to help in that endeavor. So, yeah, it's a numbers thing for sure.
It is. Well, so, we've been on for almost 30 minutes. I don't, I mean, this is really what we wanted to talk about. And so, I mean, if anybody, I haven't really seen more questions come here. So, Matt, I mean, as we kind of wrap this one up, so creditrepairingeorgia.com, there's a little link on that. You want to give a quick update on what's going on with CreditCons 2022 and 2023, or anything else you want to update us on?
Sure. CreditCon 2022 is going to be in Las Vegas, April 11th, 12th, and 13th in Las Vegas at Paris Casino, right on the center of the Strip. We're there. It's set in stone now. The website is www.credit-con.com. And we're starting to build that out. You'll see we have a couple of speakers up there so far. We have the dates, the hotel, the link for the hotel to book it isn't up yet, but you can see it's not our rate. Our block rate is $99 a night. It should be a good time. We're going to have a lot of fun. Vegas, right, baby. You say, yeah, you got it, Warren.
Let's see, Benjamin Strachan. Hopefully I pronounced your name right, Benjamin. I send people in street get signatures for law, do these. Yeah, right. So, okay, so Benjamin's volunteering to basically, run a door knocking campaign for you. So Benjamin, yeah, actually go ahead and send me and Matt Leistro a little private message if you would, man. And let's get the dialogue going. That's what it's all about, guys.
We never quite got to that step last year because we didn't get the bill proposed. Once you get the bill proposed, then you need to figure out when the vote is coming up, who's and analyzing it, what committee is it in, and try and get those congressmen and senators to support it. And one of the ways to do that is to send them lists of people saying, here's a list of, here's a petition of people saying that we support this bill. So certainly that is one way to show them that we have support for this bill. I'm hoping that we can possibly get some letters from some of these trade organizations saying that they would support the bill. And when a congressman or senator sees that the apartment association, the automobile dealers association, the mortgage bankers, mortgage brokers, the realtor association supports that they'll hopefully sit up and take notice and try and make them happy and vote with them if they support
Let's
it.
see, Marianne, do the supporters have to live in Georgia? Well, as I say, it all depends. You're not technically, legally a constituent of the legislators if you're not there, but you know what? Everything, it's kind of like the cumulative thing, really. I mean, this is really a group effort, and it's all our industry. And Matt doesn't live there, but look at the progress he's made, right? So, Matt, what do you have to say about that, man?
Certainly it's better if you're in Georgia. That's a little tricky for us because we're not supposed to have clients in Georgia, right? So, yeah, but technically it's better in Georgia, but sometimes it's just a numbers thing that these are
So
people supporting this initiative.
Marianne, we're gonna walk you down to mailboxes, etc., and we're gonna just get you a downtown Atlanta address. We're gonna say you live there. Hey, it works for voters, right? Voters can vote with PO boxes in other states. Why can't we lobby based off of that as well, Matt Listro? So, all righty. So, okay. So we've got Credit Con coming up, Las Vegas. You're gonna have that right across from the Bellagio. And so, for those of you guys who
That's right across from the Bellagio, right across from those fountains, right in front of the big Paris hot air balloon and the Eiffel Tower there.
Awesome. So, all right. So yeah, reach out to Matt and me. Message us if you want to be part of the movement, if you would, and we'll kind of figure out how we can plug you in. Everybody works there. And so any final thoughts there, Matt? Anything else before we kind of wrap this up?
I think that's about it. I appreciate any help that anybody can give me. Last year we had someone who said, "Hey, I have a relative who's a senator in Georgia." That was very helpful. So you might know somebody, right? We'll take any help we can get. I'll take any suggestions that we can get. So as we move forward, I'm sure we're going to need more things done. Please join our mailing list.
Awesome. And as always, if you like more of what you see here, we've got the world-renowned credit repair training course, which happens to be the only credit repair training course in the entire world. Look, I'm the wrong way. Fully endorsed by Mr. Matt Listro himself over there. And so you could go to creditrepairtrainingcourse.com. 30-day free trial, $99 a month. After that, amazing community, amazing content. And every week, Matt Listro and I do live webinar trainings as well. And so that being said, we will sign off and we will see you guys next week. You guys all take care.
All right. Thanks for having me, Steve.
You bet.